Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cinema Heroes. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
And today we are talking about Batman Under the Red Hood. Released in 2011, directed by Brandon Vietti, written by Judd Winnick, and starring Bruce Greenwood, Jensen Ackles, John DiMaggio, Neil Patrick Harris, Jason Isaacs, Wade Williams, and various other voice actors, excellent voice actors. This was one of the somewhat early entries of the DC animated. It's not really a universe, but the movies they started putting out, and dare I say, one of the better ones.
Yes, I agree.
Honestly, a lot of the early DC animated stuff was all pretty good. I kind of miss those days. I have not actually watched. I always buy them because I have them all, and I feel like I can't not buy them, but I haven't actually watched the latest few, like Battle of the Super Sons or Justice League War World, but I don't totally love the animation style. It's kind of like that Archer, like real dark outline on each character kind of style. It's not terrible, but I definitely prefer the animation in this movie versus the kind of newer animation style. I think the ones that were produced by Bruce Timm, I feel like Bruce Timm knows what he's doing, I guess. At least for the most part. There's a movie we have not gotten to yet called Batman and Harley Quinn or whatever that yikes. But but for the most part, Bruce Timm knows what he's doing, does a good job. So this movie came out for me shortly after I moved to California, and I was super broke. So I did not get to see it right away. I had to wait. I may have gotten to rent it from Blockbuster. I don't remember if they got those movies or not when I was working there. But I remember wanting to buy it and just not having the money until finally, eventually, I got it, I think, way after the fact. So I don't really have a memory of seeing it for the first time, but I do know. I mean, I loved it when I saw it. What about you?
Yeah, I do have a memory of seeing it for the first time. I watched it over at my best friend's house, and we were loving every minute of it. I hadn't read the source material before seeing the movie, but for a long time, it was the best DC animated movie that was a part of the straight to video ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I still rank it pretty high. I mean, honestly, it's second only to Flashpoint Paradox in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It is so good. It is so good. I was loving every minute of watching, because I haven't watched this in about maybe 2 or 3 years. I was loving every second of it. It's so good. There are 1 or 2 changes that I would probably make if I were to adapt it to live action, but other than those 1 or 2 changes, it would be exactly the same.
Yeah, I agree with you about it being ranked near the top. I don't know Flashpoint Paradox is definitely number 1 for me as well. I don't know if this would be number 2. If not, it's definitely in the top 5. So I agree with you about that 100%. And I agree. I mean, to see this in live action would be pretty sweet. And I actually have still not read the actual source material. I knew about Jason Todd. I knew that he was killed off as Robin, which is the opening prologue of this movie. But I don't know. I'm trying to remember if I knew it was Jason. I mean, you could kind of piece it together. Why would they show the opening? Why would the prologue be Jason Todd getting killed off and then all of a sudden this Red Hood guy shows up?
Right.
You can kind of figure that out, especially since they show Ra's al Ghul in the very beginning as well. But I was going to say, I don't know if I knew the quote unquote twist that, who Red Hood was before seeing the movie. So I actually don't know if I even knew about Red Hood, because he's now become part of another group in the comics now. The Outlaws or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't think I had even heard of Red Hood before watching this movie. So I don't know if it's part of me feels like it was spoiled for me, but I didn't care because it was good enough that I still enjoyed the movie. I don't remember. I really can't. But yeah, it's amazing. I love the voice acting in it. Bruce Greenwood as Batman.
Oh.
Top tier.
Top tier. Bruce Greenwood, other than the legend himself, Kevin Conroy, Bruce Greenwood is my other favorite voice actor for Batman. I know a lot of people say Peter Weller, but for me, it's Bruce Greenwood all the way.
Peter Weller was perfect for, which we haven't talked about these movies yet either, but perfect for the Dark Knight Returns movies. I don't know if I would like Peter Weller like in this movie. Mm-hmm. Like he's good as the older, gruff kind of just whatever Batman. Mm-hmm. But Bruce Greenwood is spot on as Batman in this movie.
Yeah.
Jensen Ackles as Red Hood. When he like first shows up, I wasn't totally loving his voice performance. It's not bad by any means. It's just it felt too like kind of light for being this like guy who's trying to take over the crime in Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
But then by the end, when he's like yelling at Bruce and stuff, oh man, Jensen Ackles delivers. He kills it.
Yeah.
So I actually think he's amazing too. And it's funny, he's now our Batman in the Tomorrow verse of the animated movies, which is pretty cool. I know he's a big Batman fan, so that's pretty awesome. How do you feel about Neil Patrick Harris as Nightwing?
At first, it was a little off-putting, and not because I didn't like his voice. I hadn't realized that it was Neil Patrick Harris when I first watched the movie, because Neil Patrick Harris, his voice is it's I wouldn't say light, but he doesn't really have a deep voice.
Right.
And when he's doing Nightwing, it's kind of deep. I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, I could roll with this. So yeah, right. I love Neil Patrick Harris as Nightwing. So
yeah, actually, he's another one that when he first shows up, I think I instantly recognized the voice, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. But then as the movie goes on, I was like, he's awesome. So I just, I just had to be sold, I guess, on a couple of them. But I don't know if I normally kind of feel this way about the Dick Grayson version of Robin / Nightwing, but he's like super talkative. And this version of Nightwing is very talkative and kind of joking around, and which is fine. I like it. But I was like, is that kind of how I feel like when he becomes Nightwing? And maybe this is just my thought, because I haven't read like that many Nightwing comics. Maybe I'm going off the Titans show or something, but like I feel like he's a little bit more
subdued,
Batman-esque, he's a little bit more like not angry, but you know what I mean, just kind of not as Spider-Man-ish.
I think I get what you're saying, and he normally isn't that lighthearted, but I think they needed one of the three of them to be like that, because
to bring a little
Batman
comedy.
Is so stoic and gruff. Yeah. That's one of the things that I really like about Bruce Greenwood's Batman. It's a really rough Batman voice. Yeah. And then Jason Todd, who is very abrasive and very aggressive. They needed
and angry.
And angry. They needed a third character to be completely different from the two of them.
Bring a little bit of levity to the film. And whatnot,
a little bit of levity.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So, and I can understand that. So I guess that makes sense. And also, that's why he cast Neil Patrick Harris too, because he can bring that. So, I love Nightwing in the film. The one time I was kind of like, wait, hold on, was when the Red Hood is like basically trying to crash the helicopter on purpose, and Nightwing is like, is that going to hold? And Batman's like, no, and he takes the like rocket launcher type thing from him and jumps off the building. He's like, oh, okay, I'll just deal with this then. He pulls out like this giant like staple gun out of his like wristband. I was like, really? Yeah, you were hiding that in your wristband? That was like the one moment where I was like, I don't know about that.
I noticed that too. I was like, you had a whole gun in your gauntlet? Like, what?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, we kind of let that slide with Batman because he's got the utility belt. So he's got like all these different, pouches on him that could potentially have a lot of the stuff he needs. They go a little far with it, like in the the old Batman TV show, the old Adam West. He like always has exactly what he needs on him for whatever situation he's in. But for that, so like, I don't know if the staple gun was big in his hand and it was like putting down these giant staples. So even that being on his utility belt would be a little far fetched. But the fact that he pulls it out of like his gauntlet, I was just like, I don't think that was being stored in there. Oh, we got to talk about John DiMaggio's Joker. How do you feel about John DiMaggio's Joker?
I love John DiMaggio's Joker. His Joker is severely, criminally underrated. The look of the Joker, they obviously were influenced by Heath Ledger. However, it's so distinct from other versions of Joker in the look and in John DiMaggio's portrayal that it's very like, what's the word I'm looking for? You can't help but be entertained by this version of the Joker. And this version of the Joker is pretty funny.
Right, yeah. I agree 100%. This is something, I feel like this is the type of Joker we haven't seen before. And unfortunately, we haven't really seen since. Yeah. It kind of blows my mind that they had John DiMaggio play the Joker in this movie and then never brought him back in anything. It's crazy to me. Because he is so good. I love that, usually when we get Jokers, they have the high pitched voice, kind of that's like the Heath Ledger type of thing, or like the Mark Hamill. And this one, he does like a very much deeper voice, but it still works really well. And his laugh is like perfect. Yeah. So, yeah, I want to see more of this Joker. I think this Joker was so cool.
Also, I love how Joker a lot of the times is this skinny, frail dude who's just like kind of tall and slender. This Joker looks like if you make him angry enough, he would beat the hell out of you.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I don't, exactly. In the beginning of the movie when he's beating Jason Todd with a crowbar, you're like, that's not, that he's feeling, I mean, obviously he'd be feeling it anyway, it's a crowbar, but like, that Joker especially is putting some force behind those swings,
for sure.
So yeah, not fun, but also, like I said, a Joker we just haven't really seen, and I really want to see more of it. Were you familiar with Amazo before watching this movie?
Before watching this movie, yes.
Were you really?
From the Justice League
cartoon
animated series? Yeah.
Gotcha. Is because I was not really familiar with them, and I like you had not watched this movie in a couple of years, and I forgot he was in the movie. And I was Googling it because I was like, is there a reason he looks... Because I honestly thought when the box opened up, I was like, Black Adam. That's what he kind of looks like. He looks like Black Adam. But then, Batman's like, it's Amazo. And so I was like, okay, well, is there some reason he kind of looks like Black Adam? And I was trying to Google it to see if like he took some powers from Black Adam or something. But
I think it's just a coincidence.
I think it is too. And most of the images I found on Google like are kind of from when he was maybe first created or older renditions of him. And he doesn't really look like Black Adam. They made him look more like Black Adam in this movie than I feel like he does normally. And I don't really understand why they did that, but whatever. But yeah, as far as I know, he has like nothing to do with Black Adam. He kind of looks like him in this movie, in my opinion. But he's kind of a cool idea, kind of a cool character. The fact that he's like this android who like can take superheroes' powers. Yeah. But he still has the weak points of a human and stuff, which was interesting. Yeah. Kind of a cool fight sequence between Nightwing and Amazo, or Batman and Nightwing and Amazo before Red Hood finally first shows up on Batman's radar.
Yeah. The introduction to Red Hood. How do you feel about it?
Is that the scene with the like all the mob bosses and stuff? So that's the scene where I feel like I like that scene. I think it works, but it's also like I don't know what I expect Red Hood to really sound like, because it is Jason Todd under the mask. But that's the scene specifically where I feel like Jensen Ackles really didn't have like the menacing kind of sound that I would kind of expect, especially to sway all these bad guys. But other than that, that's pretty much my only like nitpick of the scene. But otherwise, I liked it. How'd you feel about it?
I didn't have a problem with his voice. Yeah, I didn't have a problem with Jensen Ackles. I would have preferred if they did not reveal that it was Red Hood until later. Maybe show him in like in the shadows. Obviously, we were gonna know that it was Red Hood, but
sure.
Just show him, in the shadows, and then the first time we actually see Red Hood is when he confronts Batman.
Right. Yeah, that would have been cool. I agree. And I like how they go to the location where the Joker Red Hood fell into the chemicals. I like how that was kind of, we see that glimpse of, I think that was from The Killing Joke when, And so then there's that, Batman and Nightwing are like, well, it's not Joker because he's locked up, but maybe Joker knows who this is, which I think was cool. I like how Joker's in this movie. And he does play a big part, but he's not like the central antagonist. That's Red Hood. But Joker is very much a big part of the movie, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that too. Again, I would have done that scene a little different when they go talk to Joker. I guess probably like how Matt Reeves did it in that deleted scene for the Batman. I probably would have did it somewhat like that.
Yeah. I like when they are showing Joker the picture. He makes a joke, which I really like, but then he makes the exact same joke later, which I don't really like. But he says, he goes, mine was more maitre d' chic or whatever, not motorcycle fetish or whatever he says. And he says it again once he meets Red Hood. And I was like, Joker, don't reuse your jokes, man.
Yeah.
But he is, I guess, if you're going with the Killing Joke origin, he is a failed comedian. So I suppose he would tell the same jokes over and over again. But yeah, I actually kind of like the scene, but you're right. It would have been cooler kind of doing it the way you're talking about, the way that Matt Reeves did it in that deleted scene, which I really like that deleted scene.
Yeah, I do too.
I do like how it's, even if we as an audience don't, or already know it's Jason Todd, even if you're able to kind of connect those dots before the movie wants you to, I like how Batman slowly kind of uncovers that mystery when they are chasing him down and they end up in like the train yard. And he says,
you haven't lost your touch, Bruce.
You haven't lost your touch. Yeah. And he says Bruce, but you can't hear it over the trains until he edits the audio and he stands up because, he realizes this guy knows who I am.
Dun, dun.
Right. And he's able to, Nightwing is talking about how this guy's got training because he was able to cut through your line before it goes taut. And Batman's like, how many people do you know that can cut through my lines? And he's like, not many. And so it's this whole thing where like, who is this guy? And now he knows who I am. And so I liked how I liked the mystery to it, even though for us, it's not, especially rewatching it, it's definitely not a mystery, but I still like how the mystery kind of unfolds throughout the movie. I think it works really well.
Yeah.
Black Mask. We've tried about Black Mask.
Yes.
Wade Williams. He's also pretty cool in this movie. And I like how he has become, especially since Joker's in prison, I guess, he has become kind of the main crime lord of Gotham. He's kind of controlling everything in Gotham,
which is usually how it goes. Whenever we see Black Mask, it's usually because Joker's in jail or dead or whatever.
right, exactly. And so I like how Red Hood is kind of disrupting his
operations.
Yes, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. And he's very not happy about it. I believe that's when Batman and Nightwing, that's the chase that ends up in the train yard, I think, is him disrupted. There's like a shipment coming in of armed weapons and RPGs and stuff, and Red Hood disrupts that. That's actually the helicopter falling. Yeah, I love that whole scene too.
Yeah.
With the helicopter and Batman having to save the helicopter, and even though Nightwing pulls out the gigantic staple gun out of his gauntlet, I still think it's a great scene. Visually very good. But yeah, Wade Williams as Black Mask, I think, does a really good job. I think he's kind of the voice I would think of for Black Mask almost.
Absolutely. He's like this. He's such a loose cannon.
Right.
It just gets so angry at the drop of a hat.
Right, yeah.
The Batmobile. I really like the Batmobile in this movie.
Yeah. The Batwing too. I thought the Batwing was pretty cool in the movie as well.
Cool as well.
But yeah, the Batmobile is pretty sweet. It's kind of got those classic, animated series / Tim Burton kind of vibes to it, but it's also unique in its own way, which I really like.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, we get two versions of the Batmobile too. We get the older version when Jason is taking taking the tires off of it.
Speaking of that, I have that comic book.
Yeah.
So I looked it up because I was like, is that the first appearance of Jason Todd? Because, when that, especially in this movie, that's how they show him. I have the comic book. The cover of the comic is him stealing the tires off the Batmobile and Batman catching him. And that happens in the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked it up, and it's not technically the first appearance of Jason Todd. And so it's not really worth anything, unfortunately. So that was Batman 408.
Okay.
Which was released in 1987. And the first appearance of Jason Todd was actually Batman 357. But that was pre-Crisis. And so once Crisis happened, they retconned Jason's origin story. And so Batman 408 is technically the first appearance of Jason Todd post-Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of the first appearance of Jason Todd, but not technically, because he was introduced in Batman 357. And that one is worth more than Batman 408, which is the one I have, which is kind of a little bit of a bummer. But it's still cool that I have.
How was he introduced in 357?
I don't know. I just I guess I could try to look it up, but it said it was the website I was looking at was like a comic collector's website, and I believe it said it was first cameo appearance by Jason Todd. So I don't know if they just I have no idea. I've never read that one. But in Batman 408, Batman is, he's parked the Batmobile in some alley and he's dealing with something. And when he comes back, he catches this kid and he's removed all the tires from the Batmobile, which is pretty bold.
Right.
And he actually doesn't take him under his wing right away. He actually delivers him to kind of an orphanage. And at the end, I remember the issue ends with him realizing the orphanage was run by some crazy evil kind of mob boss woman who's pretending to be this nice old lady who runs an orphanage, and Jason Todd's at the end of the issue. So I don't know how long it takes for him to become Robin, but I do have that comic, which I thought was pretty cool. It's not in good shape because I had it when I was a kid, but I do have it.
In Batman the Animated Series, the second Robin is technically Tim Drake, but he's really Jason Todd. He's only Tim Drake in name. They gave him Jason Todd's personality and origin story, and just gave him Tim Drake's name.
Yeah, I think I remember that. And I always wondered why that was. Why? I guess because Tim Drake was the Robin at the time, right?
Yeah.
In the comics. And so they were like, well, we'll call him Tim Drake because that's who the Robin is. But and also, I think for a long time, before he became Red Hood, people just didn't like Jason Todd, which is why they did, when he died, it was a big, DC Comics did a national poll. They're like, should Robin live or should he die? And everybody was like, kill him. Nobody liked Jason Todd. And so they killed him off.
Because he too was a loose cannon. So
yeah. I love, have you watched the live action Titans TV show?
Yes. I haven't finished it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't either, actually.
Yeah, I'm in season 2. I'm almost done with season 2, actually. But
So you've seen Jason Todd then? Because I think Jason Todd's introduced in the first season, I think, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. I actually really like the kid they got to play Jason Todd because he is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So he's kind of perfect. So yeah, and I like that. And I like how so Titans is a show that I thought it's not a perfect show, and I know a lot of people have problems with it. But I actually really like how Dick Grayson on that show, it doesn't know that Batman has taken on this new protege and has made Jason Todd the new Robin. And so when we first meet him, he's like, Dick Grayson's like, what? You're Robin. He's kind of like, he's even more mad at Batman at that point, which I thought was pretty cool.
The thing about it, it is cool, but at the same time, you have Jason. Dick Grayson has made it priority to distance himself from Batman.
Right.
In my opinion, he has no right to be angry
that's very true.
with Batman for replacing him. Batman, because you were Robin, Batman obviously saw the need for assistance. And you left, he still needed that assistance. So it was
does what he's got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get it. I get it from a character standpoint. Like you're replacing me as a person. It's like, no, he's not replacing you as a person. He's just replacing you as a sidekick. There's a difference.
Right. I agree. And it is kind of funny that it's kind of like when somebody breaks up with somebody and then they get mad that they're dating somebody else, you know? It's like, so you're right. He has no right to feel that way. But I mean, but it seems like a natural human kind of
it is,
response because like you said, he feels like he's being replaced as a person rather than a sidekick. But
it's a natural feeling. It's just not rational.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I also really love Brenton Thwaites as Dick Grayson.
Yes.
I think he's
he's
the highlight of the
perfect.
show.
He's perfect.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He is perfect. I wish we could have seen him in like a live action movie, you know, especially with Ben Affleck as Batman. I think that would have just been really cool.
Yeah. His Dick Grayson with his Batman, that would have been Oh man,
Chef's
that would have
kiss. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh man.
So back to Batman Under the Red Hood. I do want to talk about the music. Christopher Drake.
Yeah, Christopher Drake did a phenomenal job.
So good.
That opening sequence, oh my goodness. Like I rewound it and played it again just to listen to the music.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I have the soundtrack on my phone and I listen to it every now and again because it's really, really good. He does a fantastic job. He's also the one that does Batman Arkham Origins, right? We were talking about the Carol of the Bells Christmas theme. Yeah, Christopher Drake does. Oh, I think he also does
The Dark Knight Returns.
The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is also an amazing soundtrack. So Christopher Drake does not get enough praise, I don't think.
I 100% agree.
He knows how to do a good Batman score, that's for sure.
Yeah. How do you feel about the inclusion of, I think that was Intergang, right?
Yeah, those like the three assassins that show up.
Yeah.
And Batman and Red Hood kind of fight them together.
Yeah.
That's like the one part of the movie that I'm kind of like,
it felt
take
random.
it or leave it. Yeah. I don't really know those characters, so they don't really mean anything to me. And, you know, Red Hood does kill one of them, which upsets Batman. But that scene really, I don't know. I wish there had been other characters that were a little bit more well-known maybe or something. Yeah. I don't know. It just didn't...
Either that, the characters that were more well-known, but I think would have worked better if there was some kind of foreshadowing to their introduction, you know, and maybe like the first act. Maybe we have a scene with Black Mask or something, and he says, you know, like, you know, I know some people, and, you know, kind of let you know that something is coming. But it just seemed like they just showed up out of nowhere.
Right.
And while it wasn't bad, I think their inclusion was important for a character development standpoint for Batman and Red Hood. But from a plot standpoint, it felt completely unrelated to the rest of the story.
Right. Yeah, and the only thing that really like comes from that, I do like how they kind of fight together for a moment, but then Bruce finds the sword with blood on it, and he's able to analyze it, and that's how he finds out for sure that Red Hood is Jason Todd. He's able to. So that's another thing that I thought was kind of weird. He goes to the Jason Todd's grave and opens up the casket, and Alfred is like, "Look, see, there's his body," which has not decayed at all. You'd think Alfred had been like, "Hold on, something's up."
Yeah.
But he's not. He's like, because it's been 5 years, I think, right? So he says, like, "Look, there's his body. You can rest easy." And Batman's like, "It's a fake." And I'm like, well, of course it is.
Clearly it's a fake. It's in perfect condition.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was kind of weird. But I did like how Bruce beats himself up after that. He's like, "I should have known, you know, stupid, reckless," or whatever. Yeah. So I liked all that stuff. And the scene just happened, and I think it's right after he figures out that Red Hood is in fact Jason Todd. We get some flashbacks of Jason as Robin, as a young, like a kid, and then as like a teenager. And I like those scenes a lot, actually, seeing Jason Todd as Robin. It was really, really cool.
Especially the one where he breaks dude's collarbone.
Right, yeah. Puts him into shock, and Batman gets all upset with him and everything. And he doesn't, you know, as much of a hothead as Jason Todd is, in that scene, he actually realizes his mistake, which I thought was kind of a cool character moment for Jason Todd too. You're like, he's like, "You're right. I messed up." Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Later, it's revealed that well, before we get to that, Black Mask has basically employed the Joker to take care of Red Hood. And this was Red Hood's plan all along. He needed Black Mask to get Joker out of Arkham.
Mm-hmm.
In order to, draw him out so he could take care of him himself. And then we get to the third act, which I really, really like, where he has captured Joker and he's beating him up with a crowbar like he did him, locked him up in a closet, and he's just waiting for Batman to show up so they can have their final confrontation. And that is a really, really good scene.
It's a really strong scene, and that's also the scene where Jensen Ackles just brings his A game, because it was him trying to convince Batman. He was like, I understand, your rule. Well, I'm not talking about the Penguin. I'm not talking about Mr. Freeze or whoever he mentions. He's like, but this guy. He's like, you should have killed him long ago.
Right.
And Batman, I like how Batman.
And he says, I understand you couldn't get there in time. I forgive you for not being able to save me. But why is he still alive? He's like, if it was me, I would have searched the earth to kill this man. Yeah.
And I love how Batman is like, trust me, I want to kill him. Like every day I want to kill this guy. He's like, but I can't, and so that whole
Jason's
scene is
like,
just,
what? Why? Because your moral code? Because it's too hard? He's like, no, it's too easy. The hard thing is not killing him.
Not killing him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the writing in that scene, the performances in that scene, everything in that scene is just amazing. They did a perfect job with that scene. Yeah. So you've read the comic now, right? Have you read the source material now?
Yes. I've only read it once.
Okay, well, so you may not remember, but when he takes off his red hood in the comics, is he still wearing the Robin mask in the comics like he is in the... Okay. I was wondering, because I thought that was kind of an interesting choice to not just have it be Jason, but to have it be Robin, basically, under the red hood.
Yeah, he still has the domino mask on.
Okay. We find out also at the end of that scene, by the way, with Joker and Batman, that Red Hood has planted explosives in this building. And another moment that I actually really, really love and appreciate is Batman he runs to the bomb to try to defuse it, and Joker grabs him and tackles him. He's like, no, this is the perfect
ending.
Yeah. Which is just like
that's so
perfect,
Joker.
Crazy Joker. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's awesome.
I love his banter in that scene. He says to Jason, he's like, you're a party pooper, no cake for you.
Yeah, man, I can't speak highly enough of John DiMaggio's Joker. It's so good. I guess kudos also to Judd Winnick, who wrote the screenplay. So.
Yeah, for sure. He did a fantastic job.
And also, you got to give props to Andrea Romano,
Yeah, this cast is fantastic.
She knew how to cast these movies. Not saying that they don't know how to do it now, but she was the perfect.
Everybody brought their A game with this with the voice cast.
Yeah, I agree. And that's how that's kind of how the movie ends. So the building explodes. Batman he gets away okay. Joker is kind of caught under some rubble, but he's alive. And Red Hood escapes. And so
we didn't talk about Ra's al Ghul.
No, we didn't. Yeah, we can talk about that. So Ra's al Ghul is obviously the one who brought Jason Todd back, put him in the Lazarus pit, and brought him back to life.
Because he felt
guilty.
Batman
Batman is able to connect those dots pretty well. And once he realizes that it was Jason Todd, was not in the grave, and Jason Todd is Red Hood, he's like, I'm going to go talk to Ra's al Ghul. And I don't really remember what happens in that scene.
Well, he was explaining to Batman that he hired the Joker as a distraction to get Batman and Robin out of the way so Ra's could do whatever he needed to do. And the Joker obviously wound up killing Jason, which was not Ra's intention, and he felt so guilty about it,
right?
That he was like, I'm gonna try to do Batman a solid. I'm gonna bring back his ward. And when he came back, he was not the same. And even Jason says, like, he says to Batman, like, maybe your way of justifying this is that maybe when I came back I was deranged or crazy, or maybe this is just me. Maybe this is who I was all the time. Which I'm inclined to believe the latter.
Right.
But yeah, I really like that confrontation between Ra's and Batman. One thing that I've always loved about Ra's al Ghul is that he has tremendous respect for Batman. Even though, he is 100% a villain, he understands, he has a code of honor, and he acknowledges and honors Batman's I don't want to say nobility, but I guess for lack of a better word, nobility.
Sure. Yeah, because Ra's al Ghul is always trying to convince Bruce to take over for him. So it's he does respect Bruce and kind of knows that Bruce is. He thinks Bruce is the perfect person to take over for the League of Assassins, but Bruce always turns him down every time, and that's kind of the conflict between the two of them, and because Ra's is a villain and does evil things, but Ra's obviously really thinks highly of Bruce and is always trying to recruit him to take over for him.
You know what? The gears are turning. If Batman did take over the League of Shadows or League of Assassins, I think, at least for a while, it'd be a good thing. Obviously, Batman's need to control everything would get in the way. But I think, at least starting out, the world might be a better place.
Maybe.
Yeah, at least for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if he was going by his current moral code, he would have to try to retrain those assassins to not be assassins.
Yeah.
To not kill people.
Right.
But he probably could clean up Gotham fairly quickly, maybe with the League of Assassins behind him. Yeah. But I think that would he feels probably like crossing the line, especially since he'd have all these assassins who've been trained as assassins working for him. Will they stick to the code that I now am going to implement on them, or it'd be tough. Back to the end of the film, Red Hood kind of gets away, and that's essentially how the movie ends. We go to the Batcave, and Bruce has kind of a memory of Jason Todd on the first time he suits up, which I really, really like that scene a lot. And I love the way that the fact that they decided to end on that scene. But it's kind of an open-ended ending. And we talked about this right before we started recording. It feels like they were setting it up to have a part 2. That Red Hood was going to come back and we were going to get a continuation of this story. And I'm really bummed, but also surprised that never happened, because you and I both agree that this is one of the better DC animated movies, and I'm pretty sure that's fairly universal. I think this movie is considered one of the best. So unless it just didn't sell well when it came out on Blu-ray, I don't know why we never got a part 2. It seems like we
absolutely should have got a continuation.
I agree.
We did get and I assume we're going to talk about it eventually, but we did get Death in the Family.
Death in the Family, yeah,
which is a little bit more introspective.
Yeah, and they reuse some of the scenes from this movie and stuff, but it is also, that one's going to be interesting to talk about because it's almost like a choose your own adventure movie.
Well, I haven't watched the interactive version.
Oh, okay.
I've watched a non-interactive version.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so I have the Blu-ray, and when you watch it on Blu-ray, you have to choose what you like, what the character should do, this or that.
Mhm.
So I think I can't remember how many kind of combinations you can have of that movie, but it's interesting. It's some people were kind of upset when it came out because they felt like it was not really worth the price point because it was essentially just Batman Under the Red Hood with a few additional scenes. Because it's not the whole movie Batman Under the Red Hood, but we get a few scenes from Batman Under the Red Hood. It kind of is like I think it's been a while since I watched it, so I could be wrong. Well, I was gonna say I think it might be in between, like the prologue and the beginning of this movie. It might there might be stuff in between, like in the 5 years it takes. I don't remember though for sure.
Okay.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to talk about for sure. All right, Stu. Well, let's talk about what we would rate Batman Under the Red Hood. You want me to go first?
Yeah,
I feel like you always start. I was very tempted to give this one 5 stars, but I think it's going to be, for me, I think it's going to be a very strong 4.5. Black Masks. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything good. It's still, like I said, probably in my top 5 favorite DC animated movies. But yeah, I'm just going to take just a half star away from it, from being a perfect score. But still very, very strong 4.5.
I'm going to give it 5 Red Hoods out of 5.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, it's like I said, I was tempted, so I was very tempted. It's I can totally understand. So 5 out of 5 is kind of what I was expecting. Well, we'd love to know what you think of Batman Under the Red Hood. You can always let us know at cinemaheroes.com. You can also tweet at us or comment on our Instagram. Both handles are at CinemaHeroes. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment down below what you think about the movie. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I think that about wraps it up for this episode, though. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.